If you love drawing characters like I do, you know how important learning anatomy is. But unless you're very resourceful and dedicated, it can be pretty dang hard to learn. There's just a lot, so often the problem is you just won't know where to start, how to go about learning anatomy. And this is where this carefully crafted 7-day study guide comes into play. In this new episode of YouTube Art School, I'll take your hands through it all, going over the whole thing with you day by day to make sure you go from anatomy baby to anatomy connoisseur within a single week. Wow. Uh-oh. Quickly, class is starting. Alright, class is in session. Pay attention! Over the last 2 weeks, I've been putting together this study guide that we're going to go over right now. And I'm excited to share it with you. I've taught anatomy to countless students over the last decade, so this is my best attempt to condense this very elaborate topic in a 7-day study schedule or a study guide to deliver maximum results, maximum art gains. Learning anatomy is awesome. It makes drawing characters so much easier, so much more fun. Obviously though, you can't master anatomy in only 7 days. That's just not gonna happen. There's too much to learn, but the structure of this schedule should lay out everything that you should focus on in order, like an enjoyable step-by-step process that you'll be able to apply whenever you're trying to learn a specific body part. So whether it's the limbs, the torso, the pelvis area, whatever. So for the sake of this video, I'll focus on one of those areas. Let's say the arms. And so the idea is to isolate a part of the body and tackle it using this process, spending roughly an hour a day or more every single day of the week for a whole week. So let's get right into it. After you've paid the class fee of either one like or one sub. And so we begin with day number 1. So here the whole point will be to identify the problem or problems, plural, with your anatomy. In our case here, you might just be saying that you want to get better at drawing arms, but more likely than not, you already know more than you think. It's just not a complete understanding. You're like missing a couple of pieces. And well, the absolute best way to gain a better understanding of your weak points is to try and draw the arm or the particular body part that you're working on, but drawing it from imagination. That's going to be the exercise for day 1. So draw the body part from a few angles, as best as you can. This will also serve as a comparison when you reach the end of the week. So do your best, but no stress. With that said, I do recommend drawing the body part in like 4 to 5 different angles to get a good understanding of your understanding or lack thereof. Knowing what we know and what we don't know is super important to get started. And also I recommend doing these sketches, these exercises in like a sketch pad, maybe something like filling 1 page a day for every single day. So now moving on to the second day, we're still not going to get too technical. The mission will be to find a bunch of photo references and do a number of 2 to 5 minute sketches as best as you can, relying on the references. So try to find references where the models have some muscle definition. A great source of photo reference packs that I personally recommend, that I use all the time, is QBrush. There's a ton of stuff on there. I'll have a link down in the video description if you want to check it out. Those are affiliate links, by the way, so I get a small portion of the profits if you do click it, just to help the channel, But yeah, you'll want mostly models in idle poses, like where the body part is not foreshortened, without much perspective basically. I don't recommend looking into real anatomy just yet. Just try to draw what you see on day 2, even if some of the stuff that you see doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense just yet. And I'd say a good amount of practice to make this worthwhile would be a page full of those sketches, about like 15 to 20 of them. That's day 2. And as you know, if you've been a subscriber for a while, every week I try my best to give as much content, as much value for free here on YouTube, like this study schedule here. But the short video format means that I can only cover like a tiny portion of the whole topic. And anatomy is a massive topic that I spend hours upon hours covering in my art program. So if you're hungry for more, you should definitely check it out with the link down in the video description. It's a complete art education equivalent to what you would find at university, but for a tiny fraction of the price, and it's arguably a lot better too. I mean, check out those recent reviews. And something else that I don't mention too often, but a vast majority of the larger game studios actually use Art School to train their employees. That's pretty cool. So it's definitely not only for beginner artists. And hey, on top of that, it just happens to be on sale to celebrate reaching 17,000 students until the end of the month only. There's still a couple of days left, so don't miss out. And if you already got it, I love you. Thank you. All right, with my plug over, let's move on to day number 3. This time, we'll start by hunting for more photo references, but not just any kind. We want shredded models for this exercise. You know, you can search for bodybuilder photos or fitness models. You should find a lot pretty easily. And what we're going to do with these is, well, draw over them, tracing over the photos and highlighting the various muscles and visible bones, if any, that you know, with different colors maybe. So actually write down their names, you know, like all the muscle groups and the bones that you already know. Make sure that you identify them, and those that you don't know, make sure that you identify them as such as well, with a question mark maybe. So once you've done that for a few angles, at least, you know, like the front and the back, separately, as a second exercise, draw what you see. Because day 3 consists of 2 steps. Tracing first, and then drawing from reference. And then for the second step, this time, take your time. Instead of working on quick sketches, you know, work on like 5 to 10 minute sketches, or longer if you need to, including as much anatomy detail as you can observe from your shredded references. And now we move on to day number 4. And let's switch things up a bit. We're gonna go back on the hunt for references, but this time we'll be doing artist studies. So find some references from artists, references, you know, that show the anatomy, obviously, and artists that you like, but preferably professional artists working for studios. You just want to make sure that it's as less likely as possible, you know, that the art has some glaring anatomy mistakes to it. When the art is peer-reviewed in the context of a studio, it's usually a little safer to use. Not that non-professional art can't be accurate, but how would you know? So anyways, the exercise for day 4 will be to do studies based off of those drawings. 10 or so drawings for the body part that you're studying should be pretty good. The style can be realistic, it can be stylized, you know, whatever you prefer. Have fun with it. And then you'll be ready for day 5. Now, you should already have a much better understanding of the body part that you've been studying by now. But day 5 is really where a lot of the mental questions that you've accumulated over the last couple of days should get answered. We'll be focusing on identifying all of the surface bones and muscles now. All of the big muscles, at least. Like if the muscles are too small to have like an effect or much of an effect on the, you know, the silhouette of your characters, then you can bunch them up in groups of muscles instead. But yeah, it's time to whip out your anatomy chart or your anatomy models, and let's figure out all of those muscles that you couldn't name a couple of days ago. For the arm, for example, we have the deltoid, the triceps in the back, the biceps in the front, the brachialis sandwiched in between. And then I like to call those 2 long muscles the brachioradialis group, but it's really just made out of the brachioradialis and the extensor carpi radialis longus. That's a mouthful. But moving down to the forearm, when I teach, I usually bundle all of the extensor muscles together initially to keep things simpler. You know, those are the smaller forearm muscles that help the hand open, essentially, extending the fingers. And I do the same thing for the flexor muscles, those on the inside of the forearms, helping the fingers flex. So feel free to identify all of the individual muscles if you prefer, you know, get into it if you want to, but I recommend sticking to the surface muscles since, you know, those matter most for us artists. And this takes us to day 6, and we're almost done. What? The exercise this time will be to draw the body part using the style of your choice. Whether that's using a lot of details or very little, just make sure that you keep in mind, you know, everything that you've learned so far, and don't hesitate to pull up a reference if you need to. You're actually going to draw the body part from different angles, just like we did on day 1, but with all of the additional information that we now have. The best way to do this is to imagine that you're drawing the body part as it's like rotating in the air. So like the front 3/4 view, the side, the back 3/4, and the back. So like 4 to 5 angles, again, should be a really solid way to really imprint all of that information in your long-term memory. And now, finally, day 7. It's test day. Oh snap. The idea will be to redo your initial drawings from day 1, but including everything that you've learned since, using no reference this time. Still, feel free to use your day 1 drawings as kind of a reference, a starting point, but the focus should be on using everything that you've learned in the past 6 days from memory only. You might still have some things that you're not sure about, but I guarantee you'll surprise yourself by just how much you've actually improved in just a couple of days. And that's it. You've done it. Congratulations. That's gonna be it for this week's class. As I said in the beginning, I recommend that you do this process for every body part that you need help with. I planned everything to help you learn and retain as much information as possible. So the order here matters. The pacing matters. If you want to do more, if you can do more every day, do more of each of those exercises rather than trying to cram everything in like a couple of days instead, or even a single day. That's not gonna help much. And let me know how it goes. And by the way, you can tag your process if you post on social media using the hashtag that I created for this, Learn Anatomy in 7 days. I just created this so that we all have a place to look at everybody's submissions, see each other's progress, and I just think it makes this a lot more motivating, a lot more fun to see what others are doing too. Now, feel free to do this digitally or traditionally, makes no difference. But if you're doing it digitally though, you can use my custom brush pack that I offer for free with the link in the video description. The brush that I used for today's drawings is included as well. It's the best. Oh, and quickly make sure that you check out my art program before the end of the